An entitled Karen brings her kids into a rated R movie and completely ruined the experience for everybody in the movie theater. Things got so bad that management had to get involved just to kick her out. Here's what happened. So this was my first time coming into contact with an entitled Karen, and given the circumstances, I wish I had been there for the final confrontation before she got kicked out. But at the time, I had more important things to worry about, like, I don't know, watching the rest of the movie. So I went to the movies last night to watch Halloween Ends on opening night. I had just gotten off work and I was still in my suit, but I said who cares, because I was too lazy to go home and change into more casual clothes and then drive to the movies. I sat down in my seat with my snacks, and during the previews, I see a toddler come into the theater that didn't even look old enough for kindergarten yet, accompanied by a kid who looked like they were maybe in middle school. And once I spotted them, I saw the entitled Karen come into the movie theater right behind them. And on top of the two other kids that were already not supposed to be in there, I saw this entitled Karen holding a third child, an actual baby, who could not have been older than 1 year old at best. They sit down in the row of seats directly below me. The way the theater is built has each row of seats comprised of luxury recliners with walls facing them, separating them from the next row down. I couldn't actually see this mother and her kids unless I got out of my seat and stood up, just to look down on the row at them, or unless they were just entering the theater to sit down. And at this point, my brain is screaming, what on earth are you doing here right now? Are you serious? You're going to bring a baby and a toddler into a horror movie? And not just any horror movie, mind you, but the horror movie of one of the most terrifying slasher icons by the name of Michael Myers? To say that I was already annoyed at this entitled Karen's decision is a massive understatement, because she's not only going to cause her baby and toddler to get seriously scared by bringing them, but I guess that she also wouldn't be doing anything to calm them down either if one of them were to start crying or if they started being too loud during the movie. And guess what? I was right. Multiple times throughout the first half of the movie, the baby started briefly crying or letting out a single loud-pitched cry. It was loud enough that you could obviously hear it interrupt the sounds and dialogue of the movie. I was already mad at the woman for her garbage decision-making as well as her entitled behavior by bringing in children that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And by doing so, it was all but guaranteed to interrupt the movie for everyone else's sake. But it was also the fact that she did nothing to quiet them down, and that to me was the last straw. And just to clarify for everyone who may ask, this entitled Karen did not get up even once to take her baby outside the theater to calm it down. This baby was consistently loud and disruptive the entire time that the family was in there watching the movie. So at this point, I had had enough. So I got up out of my seat and walked out of the theater to a couple of employees outside of that particular theater and explained the situation. They said that they would contact the manager to come into the theater and get this woman and her kids to leave. So I go back into the theater, and before long, after 15 to 20 minutes have passed, there is no sight of the manager or any employee in the theater. During that time period, the baby is still whining loudly and crying here and there, once again stopping me from really enjoying the movie. At that point, the movie hadn't reached its really terrifying climax, but I wasn't going to wait around until then or afterwards for this to get addressed and risk the chance of that baby or this toddler getting scared out of their minds and ruining the experience for me and everyone else. So I got up again and went to talk to the employees again, and that's when they finally got their manager to go into the theater and talk to the woman to get her and her kids to leave. I stood off to the side by the giant wall when you enter the theater, watching the movie as the manager and the employee talked with this entitled Karen. So I never got to see what actually happened or what she said. I mean, she and her stupid kids had already interrupted the movie enough for me, and I wasn't going to miss another second by focusing on them about to get kicked out. A little over 5 minutes later, the employee came back to me and said that they're about to leave the theater. I saw this entitled Karen carrying her baby around, followed by the middle school age child and a toddler crying into her sippy cup while leaving the movie theater. I and everyone else finally got to watch the rest of the movie in peace, which lasted for about another 40 to 45 minutes. After the movie was over, I found the manager that kicked them out, and I thanked them for fixing the problem. She told me it was no big deal, and that actually, legally, the mother should have never been allowed to see that movie in the first place. Hopefully next time I go to the theater, I won't have to watch some entitled Karen bring their kids into a movie that they definitely should not be in. How unbelievably selfish and entitled can you possibly be to bring your kids into a horror movie? And from what I understand, this movie's like super scary. Like, how on earth did the movie theater allow this lady to bring 3 of her kids in to see this? Like, the middle schooler I can understand to an extent, but the children, the literal children, there's just no way. Somebody clearly did their job wrong and let this Karen in with her 3 kids. And hopefully the next time they go, that doesn't happen. Because otherwise the movie's literally going to be ruined for everybody involved. My boyfriend keeps flying his best friend, who's a woman, out to visit him, and I honestly don't know what to do. My boyfriend and I have been together for a year and a half now. He rides horses and competes for a living. My boyfriend travels a lot with the horses as he competes, and he is very successful. His friend by the name of Allie, that's not her real name, lives in another part of the country and also rides and competes. Several times a year, he will fly her out to help him with the horses. He will also fly her to competitions, again just to quote help, multiple times a year, including big competitions, where he has gone for about a month at a time. Sometimes if they are at the same competition, she keeps her horses with his barn. I have gone to a few, but could only stay for a few days. But the way they act makes me very uncomfortable. They spend pretty much all day and night together. They will work with the horses, they'll have lunch, they'll have dinner, etc. If she is in town visiting, she stays at his house. If they are traveling, he pays for her room. He also says that he pays her for her help, but I don't know how much it is. Now, I have spent time with her, and she is fun, but sometimes I feel like my boyfriend enjoys hanging out with her more than he does with me, because they honestly have a lot in common and have been very close since they were just teenagers. It's not so much that I think she is involved with him, but I think there may be an unrequited love on his part. He is always too excited to see her. She is coming out this month because he has a big competition coming up, and he mentions it multiple times a day, and he basically plans his life around her coming into town, whether it's getting the house in order or just making dinner reservations. It almost feels like he is planning dates, and I'm free to third wheel with them if I have the time, but it's constantly just them together non-stop. They also tend to stay up a lot of nights when she is here drinking and smoking. He has even said he wished he didn't have to sleep when she was in town because he always feels like there is never enough time. I am not the jealous type, but I feel like this is too much. I have also been told by some of his other friends and family that Allie is almost always the reason his relationships fail. I love him, and I really don't believe that he is cheating, but I am thinking it's almost at the point of an emotional affair. But I also think he is oblivious because he doesn't seem to be hiding anything. What should I do? The fact that he's putting his female best friend on such a pedestal, as well as staying up with her to drink alone at night, while still basically putting you on the sidelines, is really sketchy to me, and that's a big red flag. He is basically ignoring his girlfriend just to spend time with this lady that he basically has employed, and that he's known since he was a teenager. I mean, they spend so much time together, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it seems like this is a very lopsided relationship. This is basically a second girlfriend to him. The original poster went on to say that this guy's relationships basically fall apart because he and Allie are codependent on each other. They lived together for 8 years in their teens and in their 20s, and that their friends basically said that they can sometimes act like a married couple. And if that's the truth, then I honestly don't blame you for feeling a little left out, as well as basically not knowing how to handle the situation. So if anything, I think it's time to have a serious conversation with your boyfriend. You need to explain exactly how you feel and tell him straight up that you feel left out of this relationship. You feel like you're sitting on the sidelines when compared to this other woman that he's known forever. He'll make the time and he'll make the effort to try and bring you more into his life, because the way he's acting based on what you've described definitely does not sound good, and hopefully this doesn't tear your relationship apart. I was uninvited on my boyfriend's family vacation, and at this point I don't know what to do. My boyfriend's family is planning a vacation in 4 months. He paid his way on my vacation, and I planned on paying my whole way on his family vacation. My boyfriend was so excited and told me about it right away and asked if he thought I could get time off work. I told my boyfriend I have a week off that month that they were planning on going, and if we could make it work, then I would do it. He said it should be no problem, but they didn't have any specific plan or time that they needed to go. We both still live with our family, so we get plenty of family time. A few weeks later, my boyfriend mentions that his sister, who is in college with online classes, has spring break the week after me, so that's when they were planning on going. I mentioned that it would be hard for me to take off a whole week, especially if it's the week after I already had a week off. It almost seems purposeful that it wasn't now aligning with my week, so my boyfriend said that we could talk to his family. So when we did, his mom and sister did not seem to care at all, that it was inconvenient for me, and that I probably wouldn't be able to go. His mom basically said, oh well, and I said I wasn't sure yet if I could go, but it would be hard to make it work. I cried to my boyfriend the rest of the night because I was so sad, and I didn't want to miss out on this fun experience. experience. I have a fear of missing out, and I really wanted to go spend that time with him and his family. He told me not to be sad until I talked to my work. So the next day, I went into work and asked my colleagues for advice before I talked to my boss. They all told me what to do and that it was totally possible that I should go. I was so excited at this point and didn't tell my boyfriend yet because I wanted to surprise him that it was going to work out. A few days later, I asked my boyfriend for more information on their vacation. I wanted to know where they were going as well as the specific dates that they would be gone. I asked him to call his mom to find out. While on the phone, his mom said that she would text him the information, stating that she booked it today. When he got off the phone, I was confused that she already booked it. He had told me that she must have booked it for all 5 of us, with me included. But when he called her back, she said no, she just booked it for 4 of them, that being just his family. I never gave her an answer yes or no if I could go, and my boyfriend just got very upset and didn't know why his mom would do that. He said there had to be some kind of misunderstanding. He went to talk to his mom and ask her why she did that. I could hear their conversation, and she said she just assumed that I wasn't going. She was not one bit remorseful about it in the slightest, and never felt bad. He asked if she could cancel and rebook them with me on the flight, and she said that she would not do that. My boyfriend came back to me and was super upset. I was upset as well, but didn't want to make my boyfriend feel worse. 5 minutes later, his mom knocked on the door and told me that she didn't want me to feel like I was unwanted, but she just wanted it to be the 4 of them as a family. She said she wanted to spend time and reconnect as a family. My feelings were so hurt that she wasn't considering me as family after I felt like they were my own family. His mom made up some excuse to try and make it seem better, but I could tell that she was faking it. So basically, his mom uninvited me, and this was right after I just figured out how to make everything work out. I wanted to go so badly. I am super upset that I was uninvited after being told that I could go. I thought his family liked me, but they obviously don't want me there. My boyfriend stood up for me that day, but since then, the conversation has been dropped. I'm still super upset, and I can't stop thinking about it. I feel very uncomfortable and awkward now with his family. I don't want to ruin our relationship because I love my boyfriend, and I can see myself marrying him, but I can't see myself feeling comfortable going over to his house with his family after being unwanted. Now I am dreading this vacation for the next 4 months. To make it worse, my boyfriend won't be able to text me or communicate with me because there will be no internet. I still want to go so badly and make those memories with him, but even if his mom changes her mind, I know they will really not want me to be there. I don't want my boyfriend to miss out because of me, but I do also not want him to go to prove a point to his family. Am I wrong for still feeling so upset and uncomfortable with his family now? I want something to change, but I don't know what. I want my boyfriend to stick up for me more so his family knows that this is a huge problem and can affect my relationship with them. I feel like they hate me and they don't want me around. And frankly, I don't really want to be around after all of that. I need some advice here. What do I do? What do I say to my boyfriend? How can I feel better about this situation? Because honestly, I'm at a loss. If I was in your shoes, I would feel really disgusted about this as well. The fact that she did not want you to come along to this vacation and that she was not willing to rebook it just so you could be involved is a very telling sign of how this mom actually feels about you. That's my opinion, at least. I think you obviously still love your boyfriend and you want to have a relationship with him, but I think you know now that you need to be wary of what his mom actually thinks. And sure, you did everything you could to try and make the dates line up, but at the end of the day, she turned you down, and you need to remember that moving forward. I don't think you should break up with your boyfriend or anything like that. Obviously, you have a good relationship with him, but I think some distance away from his family would probably be a good thing, because the way she handled this was really childish, and at least in the future, you can at least have a game plan to deal with this kind of behavior in the future. My friend is a little too close to my husband, and it's really starting to bother me, and I'm not sure what to do. I met my friend at work about 10 months ago. She naturally started to come around more recently, and this has come with concerns from another family member as well as some friends. We had a barbecue where my husband Bob arrived after her. As soon as she saw him, she squealed with excitement and shouted, "Oh my God, it's Bob." For about 30 minutes afterwards, it was constantly just her voice going off about something, followed by her saying Bob in a sing-song kind of way. Many people noticed and were irritated, since she and Bob have no relationship outside of him being my husband. But she has a cheery personality, so I just brushed it off. There have been other instances where I've noticed that she pays extra attention to Bob. Even the most minor things that Bob says is greeted with an overreactive response and exaggerated exaggerated laughter and beaming smiles. It's also gotten to the point where she will make otherwise small talk with 20-minute conversation by asking meaningless questions with lots of big smiles on her side. This happened when Bob was simply making a drink. I mean, what is there to talk about for 20 minutes when it comes to getting a drink? And why is she talking to him quietly about it at that? There was also a dinner that a couple of friends and us attended at a restaurant. A mutual friend sat between Bob and her, while Bob sat across from me. Bob made a small joke that everyone chuckled at, but this friend turned all the way towards Bob and laughed at this small joke excessively with a beaming smile on her face. It was so awkward that the mutual friend seated between them felt like her personal space was invaded, and that the way this lady was acting was bordering on flirtatious. She does not act this way with the other men in the group. She does not have a relationship with Bob outside of me either. She has also told me in the past that her best attribute is her smile, so I'm assuming that she uses her smile to seem more attractive in dating. I have also noticed that she has Bob's number saved because for a brief moment we were all in a group chat. It would have been fine, but she doesn't have anyone else's number saved from that group, even people she has connected with on a deeper level. She did not ask Bob for permission to do this either, and he most definitely did not say that she could have his number. I'm of the belief that a person should have boundaries when dealing with anyone else's significant other, especially if there's no relationship outside of being a friend's partner. These things should happen steadily and organically. It seems forced, and she honestly comes off as smitten. Bob has also expressed his discomfort towards the situation, but outside of this, I really do like her. It was exciting to build a friendship, but I don't know if I can get past this. What should I do? I'm honestly surprised you're still friends with this lady, because your friend clearly has a crush on Bob, and it does not look like this is slowing down anytime soon. And your husband Bob has even said, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. So if anything, I think that should be your cue to say, you know what, maybe we're gonna spend a lot less time with this lady, because she's obviously trying to flirt with Bob. Like, she laughs at all of his jokes, she's overly excited about anything he says, and she saves specifically his number in her phone. Like, that's a little bit weird, and it's definitely a telltale sign that she's got a crush. So in my opinion, I would probably take a little bit of a step away from that friendship, because this is making your husband uncomfortable, and if I was in your shoes, I would definitely be uncomfortable with someone talking to my significant other like that, as well as making him uncomfortable. Otherwise, this is just gonna keep going, and this will never get resolved. I'm spending the holidays with my conspiracy theory mom, who has banned all cell phones from her house, and at this point, I'm not sure what to do, or if I should even go on this trip. My American mom has fallen prey to conspiracy theories, the latest of which is around 5G networks and cell phones. My partner and I live abroad, and I plan to fly in and stay with my parents for the Christmas holidays. We fly in a few times a year just to see them. My mom now refuses to travel to visit us due to the 5G networks in the country we live in, which is fine, I guess. We're currently trying to make it work just to accommodate her crazy beliefs. However, my mom is now insisting that the 5G networks are making her sick, so she refuses to allow cell phones in her home. She insists that we leave them in a car outside when we stay with her, so we won't have our cell phones for the entirety of our 2-week trip. Clearly, I could suck it up and leave my phone outside. However, it really hits a sore spot for me. She has had a history of controlling and surveying my activity as a teenager online. For example, she installed surveillance software on our home computers without telling anyone, just to be able to view our online activity. She also has a history of trying to limit my contact to my friends and actively disapproves when I spend time with my friends while visiting her. So in short, the cell phone issue really hits a nerve for me because it feels like she is trying to control my contact to the outside world, just like when I was a teenager. I also use my phone as an escape from my mom. Even if I'm just sitting in the bathroom and scrolling, it helps me cope with her crazy beliefs. We can't afford to stay at a hotel. We are only able to fly to my parents because we can stay in their house. Do I visit them and risk feeling trapped and resentful without my phone? Or should I just cancel the trip altogether? But it also makes me question whether I just need to grow up or not and accommodate to her no phone policy just so I can get some precious family time in. What should I do? The way the original poster's mom is acting is actually insane. 5G networks don't make you sick. This is like that one guy from Better Call Saul who didn't like any kind of electronics. It was clearly just a mental illness, and that's all it was. And that's exactly what's going on here. The original poster's mom is clearly mentally ill, and in my opinion, it's very counterintuitive to her finding any kind of help by accommodating and almost encouraging this behavior. If I was in your shoes, I not only would not go on this trip, but if I did, I would bring my cell phone with me into the house. If anything, just to prove a private point, even if that means I keep my phone in my room, and I never let her see it for a second. I also think it's a really telling sign that she's not willing to travel to you, but she would expect you to travel to her. That is a lot of money to spend flying overseas just to see your mom, who's clearly a little bit crazy. So honestly, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't even waste my time going on that trip. Your mom is not accommodating to you and your sanity, and it sounds like she was pretty abusive to you as a teenager. So if they really are desperate enough to see you, then you can simply video chat with them online, because the original poster's mom is not right in the head, and if anything, she definitely needs a lot of help. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.